All right, welcome to the Nightly News Podcast. This is Professor Paul Miller, and I'm sitting here with Nightly News President Sherri Long. Sherri, welcome to the podcast.
Hello.
And we're also sitting here with Alumni Engagement Director Sarah Blumenschein. Sarah, thank you very much for joining us today.
You are very welcome. Thanks for having me.
So one of the things that we wanted to do with you in your office is you always are doing all kinds of different events. Obviously, we've certainly covered some of the events that you've done before, specifically the Alumni Feast and Brews tent, which is continuing to grow as the years go on with our homecoming. But something else that you've been doing is you've been having more alumni-focused events. And so we'd like to talk specifically about two of those events that are coming up in the very near future. Before we get started talking about those events specifically, can you talk a little bit more about what your office does and how maybe any alumni that are looking for some networking opportunities or things like that, how they can get in touch with you?
Sure. Okay. So the Office of Alumni Engagement at Central Penn College provides programs and events and services and benefits to our more than 11,300 living alumni. And so
11,300. How did you come up with that number?
I just figured that out last week. We have a new database system that we switched to, and it allows me to filter alumni by various factors, and so I was able to drill down to our 11,300 number.
You know, I was talking to President Milano, and he'd actually indicated that there used to be a gentleman by the name of Paul Miller that used to come here on campus, and in fact, gave me this little magazine here and this awesome note about this gentleman, Paul Miller. Are you aware of this guy?
I sure am, because I am editor of Pendulum, our alumni magazine, and I worked on that issue.
I just thought it was interesting because I was unaware of this, and one day I saw this really awesome note from him because he shares the Boyer House with us, and I saw that he was the cover story of the September 2012 edition, so I thought that was pretty interesting. But he would be one of the 11,300 alumni. So I want to talk a little bit more about some of the other things that your office does. So say there's alumni out there listening to this podcast, they want to learn a little bit more about how they can get more involved with your office. What do you suggest?
I highly suggest that they get in touch with me, and my email is alum, A-L-U-M as in Mary, at centralpenn with 2 N's, .edu. And also, go to centralpenn.edu/alumni. Go to our alumni website, because that's where you can find a wealth of information in terms of the upcoming lineup of events that we have, how to sign up for our alumni e-newsletter, which is really important if you want to stay abreast of what's going on. We typically send 3 to 5 emails per month on different events and happenings, and that's definitely the best way to stay in the know.
You know, Sherri, I'm so glad that you're here today because I think you have a unique perspective on this. So as we had mentioned in our previous podcast, you're actually one of the 11,300 alumni that is part of Central Penn College. What was it about your experience when you first came here that made you want to come back for the second round of your education?
For me, it was the class size. I like the smaller class size to be able to interact with the professors and the students. And I like the campus. I like the people here. Whenever I had a question, I got an answer pretty quickly, and I've been able to work out any issues. So I really liked being able to put a face with the name rather than, just an electronic kind of system.
And also, you happen to be working with Sarah on a few projects. How did that come about?
Well, let's see. How did that come about? I've
got a good idea.
Well, one of them was I'm now an elected member of the Alumni Council, and I did that just interacting with Sarah. But I started interacting with Sarah when I found out about an opportunity from Professor Miller about writing an article for the Pendulum. And then just with talking with Sarah and that, I found out more about the Alumni Council and found out more about what the Alumni Foundation does, and just really got into that.
So tell us a little bit more about the Alumni Council.
I'm very new to it, so I'm learning as I go. I started in January, and I'm actually the chairperson of a new thing that we're working on, alumni recognition, and there's another one, awards, alumni recognition and awards committee, and we are focusing on how to really acknowledge what our alumni have accomplished, what they're involved in. We're working on an awards dinner that's part of homecoming celebration, and just being able to acknowledge the accomplishments and community service that our alumni does.
Well, and you're certainly in a unique perspective in that you're a current student, but you're also an alumni. And so you're able to sort of get involved in some of these things that are certainly going to be able to help you toward the next step in your career. So that's fantastic that we were able to get you and Sarah together and that you've been able to work with her. And as I'm sure she's got more work than she knows what to do with, I would imagine.
Well, you know what makes it easier is whenever we have amazing alumni volunteers like Sherri, who are brand ambassadors, who are out there showing the value of a Central Penn education. Because, I mean, really, our alumni are the roots of our school, and they're out there making connections and showing how successful our graduates are, and whenever they come back and they get involved with the college through whichever way is most meaningful to them, it means a lot, and it's absolutely helpful to me because then we can offer more events and more programming that's relevant to our graduates.
So speaking of the events that you have coming up, Sarah, one of the things that we have coming up is this podcast is going to be posted on Monday, March the 20th. Just so happens that this week you've got a major event, an event you've been working on for quite some time, called Central Penn on Tap, and it's a young alumni happy hour. Now, one of the things I know that you wanted to get across was young alumni does not mean what you might think it means. Sherri, would you like to share with us what you mean by young alumni?
I can do that. So, different colleges and universities define their young alumni differently, and ours goes more to the broader base of young alumni, meaning that if you've graduated within the past 10 years, regardless of your age, you're considered a young alumni member. We have so many continuing education students, adult students who are returning to complete their bachelor's degree or their master's degree. And we certainly did not want to exclude them from these festivities because they become friends along the way with some of the traditional age students, and it's great to continue that interaction.
Well, one of the things that we do want to talk about this event. So it's Central Penn on Tap. It is on tap. It is the Young Alumni Happy Hour. It's going to be Thursday, March 23rd at Cafe 1500 in Harrisburg. And that event will be, what time is that event, Sarah?
It's 5:30 to 7:30, and you can walk in at any time throughout that time period. We are going to have free appetizers. We are going to have a featured faculty guest speaker, Dr. Brant Ellsworth, and we really hope that this event becomes a signature event series for our Young Alumni program, and we intend for it to move to different locations in Harrisburg, and then also as we grow in different regions, different cities across the nation, really where we have large alumni populations. But this event is definitely going to be one that's not to miss, and you can RSVP today if you're listening to this on Monday, March 20th. And if you're listening to this after March 20th, but it's before the event, you can always email me. Let me know, and I can add you to the RSVP list.
We certainly will not turn you away.
Exactly.
Now, for those of you that have never been to Cafe 1500, it's in a very trendy part of town that there have been a lot of redevelopment in that area, and I'll tell you, I've been there, and their food is fantastic, the space is beautiful, and it's something that I think that area of town is really seeing sort of a renaissance over the past 5 to 10 years, and I think the restaurant itself is extremely unique. So I think anybody that's never been there before, and actually they're in one part of town where there's plenty of parking as well, because I know that that's always an issue for people when they're going downtown to Harrisburg, although it's not quite in the downtown area. Now, one of the things that I did want to talk about is you'd mentioned that Dr. Brant Ellsworth is going to be the speaker at the event. I have been fortunate, he's actually in my department, so I've actually gotten to know him over the last couple of terms that he's been here. I know that he's got a specific subject that he's going to talk about. Can you share a little bit more about what the subject matter is that he's going to be talking about in his presentation?
Sure. Well, so the idea for Central Penn on Tap to begin with is we're going to have a different faculty member, one of our distinguished faculty, come in at each event and share a 10-minute, we're calling it like a TED Talk. And they'll talk about something that's going on that's relevant within their program, from their research that they're conducting. It could even be something that is just a hot topic in popular news media. And Dr. Ellsworth is going to be talking about the ethics of contemporary television, reality television. And he's going to be sharing a 10-minute story on his experiences on The Price is Right. So it's going to be something that's definitely interesting and different, and it'll be a little break between getting together with your friends and chatting, connecting with people who you haven't seen for a while. And we are going to have some special guest stars at the event, including Lynn Schuster, one of our accounting faculty members who recently retired. So again, age is, just a number. She just turned 70, and she was the first person to RSVP to our event. And she's definitely a student and alumni favorite, so you should make sure you come out and see her.
Interestingly enough, as far as what Dr. Ellsworth's going to be talking about, I actually had the opportunity in my Media and Society class to do a full unit on reality television. I think that it's intriguing to know more about reality television, especially because of the pervasiveness of reality shows. For example, some of my favorite programs are, on the History Channel, Pawn Stars, American Pickers. Those are my guilty pleasures. But they are still reality shows, and they are constructed in such a way to make it appear that everything is at face value. But let's just take for The Price is Right, for example. A lot of people believe that when the people are sitting in the audience, they're sort of drawn at random. And actually, that is very, very far from the truth. And as a matter of fact, what they do is anybody that's going to a taping, there is sort of I don't want to say a green room, but there's an area where everybody goes and the producers come and interview each of the people who are coming in for like 5 minutes. So it's already known before the show even starts who is going to be selected to come up at what times based on the level of enthusiasm that they have. Because obviously in The Price is Right, as you know, they want the people to be as over-the-top enthusiastic as possible for good reason. But again, it's all part of the thing that, and The Price is Right is, in some behind-the-scenes things, they have made it clear that this is not at random. So it's not like they're trying to mislead us. I just think that a lot of times in reality programming, it's unfortunately, I think what they are trying to do is mislead the audience. And again, I'm sure Dr. Ellsworth will touch on that. Well, Sarah, you have another event coming up at the beginning of April, and I believe that this is the first time that you've done anything like this. It's the Alumni Association Easter Bunny Breakfast coming up on Saturday, April the 8th. Can you share a little bit more information about that?
I sure can, and if you don't mind, I actually have another event that is coming up in between the happy hour and the Easter Bunny Breakfast. If I could take a minute to...
By all means.
Okay, well, as part of our alumni council that Sherri was talking about, we have a professional development subcommittee, and they have created a new professional development webinar series that is open to all alumni. And their first webinar is actually coming up on Tuesday, March 28th. And it's called CPC Alumni Access Granted. This first topic is going to be on early careers and navigation. So obviously it's targeted to alumni who are early on in their career, but really it's open to all alumni and to students who want to learn more. And it's going to be led by L Brand's Senior Communications Specialist, Habiba Bankston. And she's going to be talking about her journey to learn about the unwritten rules of career navigation. She's still in her 30s. She wants to provide insight on turning conflict into collaboration, building your professional network, and then taking charge of your professional development. So it's going to be a great one.
One of the things that we talked about, Sherri, is along these same types of lines is about doing career research, not only while you're in school, but after school, To be honest, that's one of the things that in my mind, I think that students should do a lot more on their own. In fact, Sherri and I were just talking about how she's gone on and looked at some jobs that she was interested in, saw some of the qualifications that she needed. And to me, I'll fully admit, when I got out of school, I don't think I was prepared to take that next step because I'd never done any career research. So I appreciate the fact that you're offering something like this to at least put out there, hey, here's a few steps that you want to take before you start looking for that first position. And I think that that's fantastic. Sherri, can you talk a little bit more about some of the career research that you've done and how that's been helpful to you?
Well, for me, making sure I'm taking the correct classes, or especially the electives, rather than just taking a class. I actually looked for qualifications that different businesses were looking for, and making sure I had some courses that kind of went along with that. And I like the webinar subject that you were just describing, that I definitely will be listening to that, because just things that you don't think about as a student or in your career, about making sure, oh, I should be doing this, or this is how I should do that. And I'll give a shout out to our Career Services Center. I've had Steve Hassinger look at my resume, and that helped me when I went to a job fair, being able to get my internship. And just resources that we have through career services, the alumni, you really need to take advantage of that to get the job you want, because it's very competitive out there and everybody has a degree and everybody's taking the same courses. It's how do you stand out? You know, what are you involved in on top of your course load to show that you can handle the pressure, you meet deadlines, that sort of thing.
Oh my, I can't tell you how often I talk about that in class all the time, about how we have to differentiate ourselves if we want to find those positions. So is this something, Sarah, that's going to be recurring as far as this webinar series, or is this sort of a one-time thing?
It will be recurring. We plan to hold 4 every year, and so we're starting a little bit late since we did most of the planning during the first half for this first quarter. So there will be 2 more this year, and we'll be advertising those through the alumni e-newsletter and via social media.
So we'll move on to the third event that you have going on, is the Easter Bunny Breakfast. Can you share a little bit with us about how you came up with this idea and maybe how you're going to implement it?
Sure. So our alumni love family-friendly events, and we have some signature events that we hold every year. We have a Harrisburg Senators baseball game that families can come out to for a picnic and a ball game in July. And we have a Knoebels family picnic in September where alumni can bring out the family and they can come for a really reasonably priced lunch and then go and enjoy the day at the Knoebels Amusement Resort. So our Alumni Council, this Easter Bunny Breakfast also stems from our Alumni Council. The social committee decided that we needed one more. We needed another springtime family-friendly event. And they landed on the Easter Bunny Breakfast. Some other local colleges do a similar event, and it's just going to be really cute. We've come up with a pancake breakfast. It's from 8 to 10 o'clock on April 8th. It's a Saturday morning. And people can come out, bring their families. Kids can have pictures taken with the Easter Bunny. They get special treats that they can take home. There's kids' activities with coloring and other crafts. And it's just going to be a nice, fun morning.
All right, so just a recap on the Easter Bunny Breakfast. That's going to be Saturday morning, April 8th from 8 to 10. Adult tickets are $6. Children tickets are $4. And that's going to be held at the Night and Day Cafe here at Central Penn College Summerdale campus. So, Sarah, one of the things that I just wanted to close with is this is something that we'd like to have you back each term. And so for those of you alumni who are looking to stay in the loop as far as what's going on, you can always look here to the Nightly News podcast, where we're going to have Sarah on each term to make sure that she has the opportunity to talk about some of the great things coming up. Now, Sarah, just I'm sure that the homecoming weekend is something that you work on year-round. And last year we saw a whole bunch of new things coming. Can you maybe give us a little bit of a preview on what to expect for our homecoming this year?
Okay, so homecoming weekend is October 20th, which is a Friday, and October 21st. We have a 2-day event lined up. On the 20th, which is Friday, we have our awards and recognition night that Sherri was just mentioning. So that's going to be a really fun event, and it's currently being planned that it might be a gala/casino night. So that's all in development, and we'll be able to share more with you over the summer. But the big main event is going to be on the 21st with our Fall Harvest festivities, which is our family-friendly festival that runs from 10 to 2. But then also, of course, our Alumni Feast and Brews reunion tent.
Yay!
And yes. I just can't wait to see who all comes out this year, because over the past 2 years, attendance has just been growing so quickly. And we have some folks who are interested in doing reunions this year, the court reporters from the 80s and the 70s. We have basketball players who want to come back and do an alumni game that morning. And so I'm really looking forward to it. And if any alumni members want to help with the planning of the Alumni Feast and Brews reunion tent or any aspect of homecoming weekend, absolutely get in touch with me.
So that's alum@centralpenn.edu if you'd like any information or have any questions or comments on anything that we talked about today. But Sarah, before I do a recap, I'd really appreciate you coming down. I really hope that this is useful for you. It's something you certainly can share on your social media. But it's for us, it's not just always about the students who are here, although we love them dearly. It's also about helping out the students in the community after they're done here, whether it's with hooking them up with awesome internships or positions, or even just having the chance to do some work and volunteer in the community as well. So I would just appreciate you doing what you do and also spending time here today with us with the Nightly News.
You're welcome.
So just as a quick recap, and I'm going to turn the info on the webinar over to you, but we do have our very first event, Thursday, March 23rd, Central Penn on Tap. It's the Young Alumni Happy Hour. So anyone who's graduated within the past 10 years, that'll be at Cafe 1500 in Harrisburg. We also have a webinar coming up.
And on Tuesday, March 28th is our webinar at 7 o'clock at night. I will be emailing out more details, so check your alumni email for that.
And finally, we have the Breakfast with the Easter Bunny, the Alumni Association Easter Bunny Breakfast. That's going to be Saturday, April 8th, in the Night and Day Cafe at Summerdale campus. So you've got all kinds of things coming up. There's an event in June that you're going to come back and talk about. There is certainly, you've got some wonderful things planned for the Alumni Feast and Brews tent as part of the homecoming weekend. So Sarah, I almost just want to let you go because I feel bad that you've got so much work to do. I don't want to keep you any longer than I have to. But honestly, Sarah, we really appreciate you doing this with us, and we certainly hope that the relationship that you've built with the Nightly News will continue.
You're welcome, and my pleasure.
And Sherri, thank you very much for joining us today. You certainly are in a unique position, and we hope to have you back when we have Sarah back in the future as well, because you have unique insight to being an alumni here at the college.
Go Sherri!
Yay! Woo-hoo. Thank you very much. And if you're alumni listening, be sure to follow the Nightly News on our Facebook page. That way you get updates on when our podcasts are available, any articles that would be of interest to you, and it's Nightly News Media Club at Central Penn, and that's Nightly with a K. Have a great day.
So for Media Club President Sherri Long, and for Alumni Engagement Director Sarah Blumenschein, this is Professor Paul Miller, and we'll catch you next time on the Nightly News Podcast.
Hi, this is Pam Brody, Instructor of Science. You are listening to the Nightly News Podcast.